Hi everyone, welcome to We Belong Education podcast. Today, Helen, we are joined with our friend Daniel Burton, the co-founder of Educated by Nature. Daniel runs lots of professional development. That's the realm he's in, where he empowers educators through his workshops, and also known as village builder and connector of humans. Yeah, have I said it right, Daniel? Yeah.
I like that. Yep.
Perfect, perfect. I'm trying to steal one of them, so with your permission, it's not trademarked yet. Really
Absolutely.
like the connector of humans there. So, welcome, Daniel, to our podcast, and thanks for your time in advance.
Thank you for
A-
having me.
our pleasure. We know a lot of us know about Educated by Nature, but we want to know from you what
Mm.
is Educated by Nature, how did it come about, and what's the philosophy behind it? Please,
Mm.
yours.
Amazing. So thank you so much for having me. So village building, I think, is one of the things that Educated by Nature is all about. So I started the organization with my dear friend and colleague Trudy Bennett 11 years ago now. And we were primary school teachers, and we saw the need for children to be spending more time outdoors, more time in nature. And then what we realized is it was actually about children and all people spending more time within nature, not just in as a destination. So we started the organization as a way to, I guess, connect more people than just the class that we were working with as teachers, and spread that work out into the community. And through the development of the organization, we found and connected with more beautiful pedagogies and practices, philosophies such as deep nature connection, nature connection mentoring, nature pedagogy that we were already following very closely as educators at the primary school we were teaching at. And then concepts of play work, and different ways to support children to realize their right to play. And when I say children, I also mean children and young people. So we're doing a lot more work with teens at the moment. So we work with families, we work with children aged 6 to 12 and 12 to 15. We work with educators, we work with teachers, with parents, in a range of school holiday programs, school incursions. But what we're really passionate about is the work we're doing with professional learning workshops, with mentoring one-on-one with educators and walking a journey with them to see how they can utilize the natural environment around them as a third teacher, as a way to engage with the natural world and support connection.
Wow.
Mm.
That's
I know
amazing.
I've already admitted this to you last time we saw each other, but I do follow your social media like a crazy stalker, not in a creepy way. But
Yep.
I think for those listening that maybe haven't seen your program, there's no walls. It's totally outside no matter the weather. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So our school holiday program, particularly, is 9 till 4, so 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. drop and leave program, and we don't have a building. It is completely outdoors, so we find some beautiful. Sorry, I'm going to take that word back. We find some specific natural environments,
Mm.
because beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And
Yeah.
actually,
And
if we can
everything is
come back,
beautiful. How that
yeah,
means,
if we
yeah.
can come back to the concept of children's aesthetic a little bit later. But I think we find places that have access to trees and places that are enveloped in the natural environment, where there's access to water like the river. So a lot of our programs are on the edge of the Derbyl Yerrigan, the Swan River here in Perth. And there are no walls. And at the moment, so it's July at the moment, we're in the middle of school holiday programs. And the two programs I did at the start of the week, it rained all day.
Oh.
Yeah.
We put a roof tarp up, like a tarp strung in between some trees, but it's just permission to be outside and fully engaged in the natural world in all of its elements.
Mm.
And you mentioned something about nature pedagogy. For those who are
Mm.
hearing this word for the very first time now, you kind of explained a little bit about how nature and finding that specific environment where children are and young people are able to learn, and educators are empowered to facilitate that learning and growth.
Yeah.
Tell us
Mhm.
about nature pedagogy. What is that? Because then
Yeah.
we would love to know how you incorporate that with play work practices. Yeah.
Absolutely. So nature pedagogy, I love So Claire Warden from Scotland is a big promoter of and researcher into the realm of nature pedagogy. She talks about being the way we are in nature with children. So it's seeing nature as as an environment to be in, but also learn from. The work that we do is a lot about, learning in, learning from, and learning within nature. So to unpack those, we can do a lot of learning about nature. We can do that from books. We can do that from videos and audio versions, but that's about nature. It's nature is a disconnected thing. We're not in it, and it's something other. We can learn in nature. We can actually change our physical environment, and we can go outside to learn. But then when we start to learn from and within, that's actually using the phenomena that happens in natural environments. So seasons, weather, the sprouting of new flowers, of bird sounds, of the insects that exist in our local environment. It's learning from other than human beings. I think when it comes down to it, nature pedagogy is about how can we see the relationship that we have with the natural environment as not an other, it's us and them, that we are a part of the natural environment. And when we're talking about nature pedagogy, it's about seeing our role in the natural environment and our connection to it and its connection to us.
That's a really, really nice way. I think there's a connection there. And yes, I'll admit for our listeners, it is NAIDOC week this week. So I'm really in full pelt NAIDOC. But recently I went and listened to a talk by Auntie Leanne, who's one of Wingaroo Education's aunties. And she was talking about on country being the perfect classroom. And that when we move out of these buildings and we get more we move into, I suppose, nature. She even talks about where she does a lot of her on-country work. It's so far out of the city that she even feels like she can hear the electricity stop buzzing. But she talks about when we slow down, that the lessons that country can give us, of those things, the animals, the smells, the just everything. I just think there's a beautiful synergy there between that pedagogy and I suppose the on-country stuff. So for those people that, are going on this journey, as we've been talking in our last podcast about moving beyond tokenism with Aboriginal education, I think there's something there, which is really cool. And I just wanted to add that seems we are in NAIDOC week while we're recording this podcast.
It's beautiful.
Isn't it? Like, because when Daniel was speaking, what I got present to was there are many institutes and organizations as I was growing up, although I didn't get to attend them, but they still exist. We sometimes call them the name of Gurukul, but then that name has also been used to represent other forms of education. But one of them was human are not at the center of the planet Earth or universe. There are so many other individuals who are running, and you can attach that to science and ecosystem and ecology. You can do that, but without going much into science thing, just staying here a little bit about recognizing you are a part of a big picture, and then just learning what's happening around you, not just in the classroom and the learning that is determined by the curriculum, but by the nature itself. So
I actually have a question for you, Daniel. I was lucky enough to hear you speak, and I love it when you go and hear someone speak and they so quintessentially tie together some thoughts that you'd already been having, could never verbalize. You had an amazing talk on the energy. This is my words because this is what I've talked with educators about for ages, but you say it much better than I do. That concept of the energy you bring when you're working with children and young people. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And Helen, it fills my heart that resonated so strongly with you. And we work with a lot of people where that resonates and just feels right. So I think there's something beautiful in that. So when we're talking about energy, I think it's a fine line that we tread in this discussion because it can polarize people. I think there's that word energy can be really polarizing.
Right.
But what I'm talking about when we discuss energy comes from some research and some anecdotal studies that John Young from the States has done with a team. And it's not just him, there's lots of people that are doing this work. But one thing that he talks about a lot in regards to the deep nature connection movement is that Indigenous First Nations cultures that haven't been impacted by Western ways of being have a different way of connecting with themselves, with others, and within community. And where the idea about energy comes into play is acknowledging the way that the cycle of a day, the cycle of the seasons in a year, the cycle of a lifespan, so going from birth to childhood to adolescence to adulthood to elderhood to death and then birth and back again, that cycle that happens. There are different archetypes or different ways that we show up. And if we think about the energy, say, for example, of a 6-year-old bounding in with unbridled energy and excitement, vitality and electricity, we can describe it as, if when I talk about that, I get excited and energetic.
Your shoulders want to bump up.
Exactly. So this energy that they have is a particular cycle or a particular archetype of energy, and that exists in lots of different places. That exists just after sunrise. That exists at the start of the day when, if our circadian rhythm and our sleep is good and we are naturally at the state that we need to be in, we wake up in the morning and we have that vitality, we have that energy. If we think about spring as a season, and I think here in Australia, there are much more beautiful ways at looking at Indigenous seasons that more closely represent the seasons that we have. But if we think about those times of year that are rebirth of the natural environment, of that new cycle after dormancy of winter, that energy is there. And if we bring that awareness to the ways that those particular energies, so we call that east energy, that the direction of sunrise, then we can think about the way that we can show up for children in the work that we do, whether that's as parents, as aunties, uncles, as grandparents, as educators, as mentors, and support them with arriving with joy and vitality. But then the flip side of that, there are times when we as educators, as parents, as aunties, uncles, grandparents, we need to arrive with a west energy, the sunset. We need to arrive with stillness, with calm, with gathering children back together. So there's a way, I love this. John describes it as social technology. It's a way of being and a mindset that we can bring in order to shape and support energy flow throughout the children we're working with in different environments.
Wow, that's a huge phenomenon in itself.
Just a small topic.
There's a small topic. There are so many connections that one can have from it. Initially, that you mentioned that the word energy can be can create some sort of opposition, and it's more like a. Why is that? Is it because energy can't be seen and it has to be felt? Is it one of the reasons, or people are looking for a measurable way of determining something's existence?
That is a great question. I think it's a phenomena. It's something we can't see. It's not tangible. And it's, I think it slips into the realm of, I'll use the word spirituality. There's an otherness to it. And sometimes when we can't pinpoint what that is, there are scientific elements of energy flow and movement. If we talk about energy as the transfer of electrons and protons and neutrons, we can physically and scientifically reflect on energy transfer. But when we talk about it in regards to, I think, our being, our relationships, then it can start to be a bit polarizing.
I mean, we always say, I think this is a very common thing nowadays. We say, oh, I don't have any energy today to do anything.
Uh-huh.
And especially when you mentioned about the sleep cycle, I'm like, oh, right. I don't know many people who wake up in the morning nowadays and go, yeah, I'm looking forward to the day. I mean,
Hmm.
Helen and I have talked about sleep routines in our emotional well-being session,
Yeah.
but this is
Yep.
what I was hearing, that awareness of concepts such as this can just give you a choice of being conscious of what you are bringing today.
Yeah.
And also, we always, I in particular, love to talk about educators in the situation that we are in, all the concept that we talk about, how the listeners can use it for themselves. I
Mhm.
like to think that I wonder what they are thinking right now. Like, who's looking after my energy? Like,
Yeah.
it's like,
And
yeah,
and that's absolutely important when we're talking about these different energies. So I mentioned like the east energy of that
yeah,
joy and that excitement, the west energy of the gatherer, the
hmm,
person, or the energy of holding space for people
hmm,
either during rest or at the end of the day. There's also other directions in there that we haven't mentioned. So
hmm.
the north energy, and I want to point out for the listeners that this is a southern hemisphere representation. If you're in the
Okay.
northern hemisphere and you're listening, you need to flip north and south.
Wow.
Um,
Okay. All right.
so,
Okay. Okay.
but we'll
Yeah.
go from a southern
Now let me
hemisphere point
try
of view.
and no.
Uh-huh. Um, so northern energy, northern hemisphere, that's when the sun's at the absolute peak of its day. It's the hard work, it's the focus, and it's
Mm,
actually what our Western society values most, that
okay.
hard work. So we
Hmm.
get stuck in the north a lot and we don't honor the West and coming back and reflecting at the end of the day. So who is the person in your team that has the energy to be north and help with the
Mm,
focus tasks, getting
Yeah.
stuff done?
mm,
Hmm.
And then the reverse of that is the south and the person of midnight energy, of stillness, of reflection. But also that south is, we talk about that in regards to the elder,
Right.
the wise one. So
Hmm.
who is the person that's looking out for the whole team?
Yeah.
So to bring that back to a really simple element, we talk about in a team of four, if you are fortunate to be working in a team of four,
Hmm.
who could take on the east, north, west, and south
Yeah.
roles?
mm,
Who is the person that on that particular day has woken up with lots of energy and they're ready to
mm,
go and they're buzzing? Who's the person that feels like they can get some stuff done and be in charge of things
Hmm.
like routine,
Yeah.
schedule,
Yeah.
timing? Who's the person in the south who is holding people's energy and looking at the wider group?
Yeah.
And then who's the person in the west who's gathering people together and seeing those people that actually might need some rest or some self-care
Hmm.
and show up, and also acknowledgement that we can't be all of those things at all times,
mm.
and
Yeah.
that's okay.
So
Permission to live into our gifts.
I think obviously this is a huge topic and we could probably talk about it for like 5 hours. I feel like we say that nearly every podcast, but
Yeah.
I think if we're thinking about it from the this probably what is a really new concept to a lot of our listeners who are listening right now. If we're thinking about it from an teaching, education, and care concept,
Mhm.
so if I'm hearing correctly, and what I think I picked up when I heard you speak about this is that if when you're coming to say, for example, a session of care,
Mhm.
your team is it's not everyone is the same thing all at once. You pick out who can bring that energy of those particular roles, and that's how you balance your team to bring, I suppose, that energy, that gamut of energies to the children young people you're caring for. Is that correct? Can you tell us a bit more
Absolutely.
about that?
When as Helen was asking this question, I just wanted to add something to it. And then Daniel, please correct me if I'm going in a wrong direction. Um, as educators are preparing themselves to receive children, put it this way, okay, in a day, like,
Mhm.
okay, who's going to be north today? Who's going to be west? uh, um, this willingness to allow children to influence, when we say talk about the other, and we've been talking about the
Mhm.
nature, and what I really like about children's energy is that they are so inclusive of what's going on around them.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
like to inhibit a few things so that we can put up a facade to be able to look after others many times, not just for
Yeah.
ourselves but to others. But children are there, they're blunt, honest, they're coming in. allowing their energy to influence us also. Like they are, here comes the East today. and
Hmm.
and
Yay!
East is not a
Uh-huh.
misbehavior. And yes, I am the West or the inhibitor or just checking who needs what, and I'm the wise person. But sometimes, you know what, this East needs to be embraced. And although you were not East to begin with, now you are because everybody else is East today. So you go, all right, let's do it, as Helen said.
Uh-huh.
Yay, welcome.
Yeah, does that happen? Is that a thing, Daniel?
Is that a thing or did yeah, yeah.
Totally. And I think within that, being conscious of the way that children arrive in our spaces,
Hmm.
and acknowledging what their background story is and what
Yeah.
their morning's been like, and what their maybe their sleep was, and the way that they arrive, but
Mm.
also being conscious that they go through that natural cycle themselves. And how do we support them to naturally be okay? So I think as a society, we sometimes we stifle that East energy, but I
Yeah.
think we're more accepting of it generally.
Mm.
What we're not as accepting of is when that children's energy flows from high energy and excitement into overexcitement and dysregulation,
Mm,
and then that drop in energy. And how do
mm,
we honor and accept and make space for the west and then cycle through to the south and that
Yeah.
stillness? Where does rest come into it? Where do our spaces, where do our environments allow for, I don't know, a child to like hang in a hammock and rest and sit with a book, or even sleep, like
Mm.
actually go to sleep at our school holiday program. I love it. In fact, so I'm going to go into a story here. So our
we
school
love a
holiday
story.
program in Village, 9 till 4, we get a lot of 9, 10, 11 year olds come, and not so much in our winter season,
Hmm.
but September, October school holidays, we see this a lot. Hammocks are a massive feature of
Mm,
what we provide as a resource. And there will be some children, especially children that have come before multiple times, arrive with their backpack and a book, like a seriously thick book. And the
oh,
thing that they do at Kin Village is hang up a hammock, sit in that hammock, and read. Now,
Mm.
this is very interesting because when they tell their parents, when their parents ask at the end of the day, what did you do today? And their response is, I sat in a hammock and read. Their parent has a
Yeah.
Western society image that I have paid for a nature based play program, and my child has just sat in a hammock all day and read.
Mm.
And as the co-founder of the organization, with that business mindset on, I'm conscious that what is the service that that parent is getting,
Yeah.
but I need to flip it,
Hmm.
because what that child is needing and
Mm.
is telling us from their behavior is their term is insane. They are
Mm.
so busy and so overscheduled,
Yeah.
and what they're seeking and what they're getting is that rest. They are seeking that west and that south. And what we've provided is a space where they feel safe and comfortable and connected, and they can sit in a hammock for 7 hours and read. And
oh,
I want to put the caveat there that they are not sitting in that hammock for 7 hours, in that they've had a couple of stick battles or a pool noodle fight, or they've come to
Yeah.
light a
Yeah. Yeah.
fire. They've actually built that shelter. They've put a tarp above so it keeps the rain or the sun off. But essentially, what they've had is time to drop in and rest. And our society doesn't allow for that. And that hurts my
Yeah.
heart.
isn't that freedom of choice just so beautiful? I was picturing it as you were talking about, it, just loving
Mhm.
it. And we did some loose part stuff at work yesterday, and we had hammocks in the tree. And I
Yeah.
was actually talking. We had some family daycare educators there, and I was talking to them about how good these makeshift hammocks. Council flags are the most amazing council hammocks. Everybody, but I was talking
Yeah.
about it from. I mean, I think this helps every child in regulation, but we had one little boy, quite not well known to us, additional needs, but just how good the way we structure the hammock is for that compression, that helping to regulate. It's people don't realize it, and the swinging actually also helps with regulation. There's just so many benefits to a hammock. We could probably talk for an hour on hammocks alone.
By the way, did we tell them that this session was sponsored by a hammock company?
No, it's not, because they can't.
Damn, we missed an opportunity. Helen, come on.
Well, Daniel, Educated by Nature hammocks coming soon.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We totally do that. Well, yeah, there are some excellent hammocks
coming up,
especially Australian hammock designers and makers out there. My one of my goals in life is to have every school and early learning service in Australia to have a hammock hotel, or at least one hammock.
I have one at my house, so I'm sorted. I just need a thick book now. I just need 7 hours in my life to be able to do that, and somebody pick me up and make me some dinner. But this is when you were talking about how parents sometimes come with Western society, let's say with the Western in proclivity to follow Western society's norms and wanting this North to have occurred, and yet this relaxation was occurring. I'm like, oh hey, what is this? Where is my child going from it? Do you reckon that this could also be because there is lack of awareness among parents, because they themselves might have gone through, and because we are a multicultural society, if my parents come to know even today that I spent 7 hours at hammock today, they would say, "Oh, you're wasting your life." Or you seem to have too much time. You know, we didn't send you to Australia for this and that. You know, that kind of. So, what I talk when I'm talking about a session in where we talk about, as Helen said, choice. So there's a pendulum going towards from the choice. I have a choice to do whatever what I want, and then there's the pendulum swings back to the structure, the society that we live in. So yes, we have a freedom of choice, and yet we are a part of the structure society, and society has its own expectation, norms, and routines. So how do you, as a business person, and also as a nature pedagogy believer, how do you deal with that? Difference.
Great question. I think one of the things that is important is that child that gets the opportunity to spend 7 hours, give or take, of a day in a hammock reading, gets to feel what that feels like, gets to witness what that feels like. And what we're noticing is that children, but actually I'm going to call it out, more so adults today, find it uncomfortable to be at rest.
The glorification
we don't
is busy.
Exactly. So whether it's the FOMO, and I think we need to swap it to be JOMO, the joy of missing out. I think it's that we highlight not only does society highlight the importance of being busy, but I don't think we are comfortable with being at rest. I don't think we are comfortable as a society taking time off or doing nothing, and it's seen as doing nothing rather than investing in wellness, in stillness, in calm. So I think one of the things that we can do is provide children with the opportunity. Well, it's a part of Article 31 on the UNCRC that children have the right to rest, leisure, play, and recreation. So yes, we focus on Article 31 as the right to play, but it's the right to rest and leisure. So they have that right. We need to hold space for that right, and they need opportunity to experience what that right feels like, what rest feels like to experience, and feel comfortable in that. Because we do a really great job at schools, especially at showing them how it feels to be busy. And they get used to that feeling, and then they roll out as adults and they need to be busy. So where are we saying to them, this is what it feels like to be at rest, and we're going to highlight how important this is, and applaud you for taking time for yourself.
I think there's a sadness in that, and I know as educators a lot of the time we do have to deal with parents' wants and needs, and yes, parents completely have that right, but is it a little bit sad that within our world we've forgotten for one, let's be honest, the child didn't read for 7 hours straight. As you said, they got up, they did some things, they went back. They had a great day. But what a rich world, even if they did read for 7 hours, they did a lot. They could have been on a boat journey. They could have been going to Mars. They could have done anything within that imaginary world. And that's okay to be in that world for a day. And I think it's a bit sad that we have lost that the educational I suppose value of just let the child read. Yeah. My mum would have been really happy if I would have just read for 20 minutes.
Well, speak for yourself, Helen. Because as Daniel was saying, and I'm glad that you somebody in your life would have been happy. I was triggered. I was like, rest? How do I spell that? Like, what is rest? Have you ever had like a weekend where you had a great time? A great time as in you didn't necessarily execute on a few things. You just relaxed or went out with your friends or whatever that may be. And on Monday morning, you wake up thinking guilty. You go, hang on. Maybe those who are listening think, what is Saurabh talking about? Okay, thank you, Daniel. At least I have someone here who's like, have I wasted my life? I'm doing nothing. And then you like to just occupy your day with some sort of things where you sit at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening and go, I've made 26 phone calls, so I'm fine. I have the permission to enjoy my evening. But if I hadn't done that, then I feel guilty. And I look, there are lots of social factors because of which I feel that way, and I'm aware of some of them, but I'm also not aware of many of them. So that's a big point. Rest. It's spelled as REST. Yeah,
it is.
I just Googled
Write that one down, Saurabh.
No, I did actually. I wrote it and I circled it to say, okay, rest is good. Yeah. Okay.
I'm conscious of time because both of you are very busy people, and I don't want to miss out on this conversation. Obviously, as we always say, we'll have to get Daniel back. But Daniel, I wanted to just ask you. You're really passionate about obviously children, but also young people. I know Saurabh recently did some work within my workplace because we do youth drop-in, and he did brought some educational theory to some of our youth workers, which was really great. But I want to talk to both of you about, I suppose, well, Daniel, tell us, why are you so passionate about young people? It feels like an dur question, but I'll let you go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think so. When we talk about play and we talk about play outdoors and we talk about nature, I think it's a natural element that, yes, of course, we're talking about early childhood. We're talking about children and we're talking about young children. And it was a natural thing to start a program and develop a program for 6 to 12-year-olds, for primary school aged children. But when we talk about high school environments, when we're talking about high school requirements, when we're talking about local and public spaces in our communities, young people, teenagers, are not thought of as the first point of call. We are not designing for, we're not programming for, we're not creating opportunities for teens. So we're passionate about the fact that they need us to be a voice for them as well. We need to hold space for them. And as an organisation, if we say that we support and are passionate about making space for the realisation of Article 31 and actually all of the articles under the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, then we need to be thinking about young people as well. We need to be holding space for that. I think we're passionate here at the moment in Western Australia the government has committed to developing a WA play strategy. And that excites us, but we are passionate believers that we need to stand strong and be a representation that becomes a WA play strategy for all children and young people, and not just children in early childhood settings, that is teenagers as well, because teenagers play. And I think one of the things that we are passionate about is we need to stand up for and make space for that, because often teenage play looks different to what we're comfortable with in regards to play and children's play. And I said at the start of our discussion this morning, the child's aesthetic, and I would call that the teen's aesthetic as well. But we have an idea of what is aesthetically pleasing as adults, And play for children and young people does not match that aesthetic.
Yeah.
They have an aesthetic of their own. So how do we make space for, be comfortable with, permission, time, and space for children and young people, especially teens, to play in the ways that they need to?
I think it's really interesting. I've spoken a lot about within my workplace. Obviously, we do. I mean, obviously for people that listen to us, within my workplace, we do out of school hours care. We also do youth drop-ins, and I've spoken with our teams a lot about the fact that it's really interesting to me that we worry about transitions, say from early years to school and USH, but then you get to this upper primary school age. So we know children from about year 4, a lot of them start timing out because they think the program's not for them. So I think that links into what you just said about teens play is a bit different to how we see play. But then they get to actual high school, some of them 11 years old, 12 years old, and then suddenly they go to high school and there's no mechanism. So it's like, right, we're done with you. No more out of school hours care. You fend for yourself. We're not going to support you with anything. It's why I really love that we have some youth drop-ins, because it gives them somewhere to go. They really support them to be in a safe space to play and have fun and also learn life skills. But I think there is really something there, and it'd be great for all of us to learn about what does that kind of teen play look like.
And as Daniel mentioned, how all these aesthetics look different, I think there's social factors that we're not talking about them. If you're not talking about youth, we're not talking about a very particular sociological factors which influences them. The sign of shame, the want to be accepted. There's a lot of social pressure to say, what are you going to do next? There's also biology included with that. Therefore, they say the conversations, the play of young people is going to look very different to the early childhood. And we can talk till the cows come home on psychology. So there's so much on brain development, biological development, and sociological development that is happening. But unfortunately, in my own research, every time I talk about children, there's so much research done on early childhood, then a bit less on school age care, and almost non-existent for young people. And therefore, we don't even have a national framework yet for that. So that's kind of tells us that we haven't paid a bit of an attention to it, and therefore, as you speaking of Daniel on Article 31, and that actually applies to so much for young people. And at least just by saying it, we provide space for them.
Yeah. And I think if I could say 2 more things on that. So I think there's a word on the screen at the moment, and it is belong.
Yeah.
So when you're talking we belong, how are we making space as a society for teens to feel like they do belong and that they're not pushed to the outside? And the other thing I want to say is that although I made the statement that teen play looks different, I want to quantify that and say that because I've been a part of a few webinars and research discussions about teen play and play in high schools, and there's a misconception that teens just want to sit around and talk as a part of their play or play sport. And yes, those are ways that teens play in high schools, but I would argue that that's because their environment has space for them to sit around and talk and play sport. They still do play in ways that look like equipment, climbing trees, running around, imagination, sociodramatic play, but are our spaces and our permission and something like a uniform in high school saying to teens that they can still play in those ways. So teen play does look different, but there are still massive similarities.
There is this word being used a lot in our society, in education, and I wrote that word as I was listening to you. And I'm going to say it, but I want to know if you communicate what this to the people that you work with, or is there a different way you put what I'm going to put? So I use the term empathy, not the usual understanding of empathy that be nice to a child. Look, I'm empathetic. That's not what I'm talking about, or young people for that matter. Empathy being understanding where the other person is coming from and providing the space for that other individual to exist. So it could be the physical empathy, which is to sit down next to them, but also social empathy, emotional empathy, cognitive empathy, to be just able to listen and not have the urge to speak, or fix or guide. So, but however, the empathy is such an interesting term, because to be able to be empathetic, you have to have been aware of certain things happening. Otherwise, you end up providing the resistance to the team's play, as you mentioned, or team's ability to connect to nature. You say, no, no, this is not how we do it. This is how we do it, and done all for right reasons, but that is because of the lack of some sort of awareness. Do you ever talk about empathy in a or am I putting a word to something that you already talk about, but you might communicate in a different way? Just bridging that resistance and allowing things to occur. How might
Yeah.
you put it, or something?
Yeah, I think empathy is a great word. And I would say you also use the word awareness. I think
Yeah.
awareness is a massive part of it.
Hmm.
In the nature connection realm, there's the concept of wilderness awareness games as a methodology, as a tool to support opening awareness. I think as a society, we are taught and supported to close off our awareness from the wider world.
Okay.
So opening up that awareness to see people as they are, who they are, make space for people, I think is really important. And those skills start early in life. So I think we need to start with opportunities for children and young people to be building that empathy and that awareness and that openness to others now, so that they become the adults that hold space for and aware and empathetic to others in the future.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable thought that I'm just sitting here with, already lashing myself thinking about it. I'm just curious. I feel like obviously this is the tip of the iceberg in this conversation, but in play work there is that word adultify. Do you think? I mean, I kind of do know the answer to this, but I want us to talk about it. I'm curious to know really if, as adults, especially, as children get to that 11, 12-year-old age, as we start putting, I suppose, our own perceptions, and maybe sometimes people have used the word, oh, don't you think that's a bit babyish? Oh, you don't want to do that because you're a big girl now, or whatever language was used in that. It's suddenly really hitting me in my heart as we're sitting here that we've probably played a huge part in getting teens to kind of this loss of play, and it's really sad.
Yeah. So I think adulteration as a concept is a really important thing for us to be aware of. And if you, for the listeners, if you're not aware of the playwork principles and playwork philosophy, check out the concept of adulteration. But I think it can be misunderstood as the absolute. So to avoid adulterating an experience and to over impacting on a play opportunity or a play frame and the child's play cycle, that we tend to stand back too much, too completely.
Yeah.
Whereas it's about critical reflection of
Yeah.
the observations that we're making of play. Because I think there is time and space for us to, so from a playwork language point of view, intervene. But the intervention style that we choose to jump in with is dependent on, well, here we go, the playwork principles, our knowledge of the way that children play, our knowledge of the biases that we come with when we are observing and supporting children, knowledge of the society's bias and an impact on children's play, on the different ways that children turn up in their play.
Yeah.
So yes, I agree with you, Helen. I think there's an element of our impact on their play. And I think we have used a very heavy hand that has led to some of the impact and some of the teens' concepts about what they're allowed to and what is okay. But I don't think the answer is stepping back completely. I think it's about that critical reflection of where do we sit.
And I sit here again triggered, but I will get to the triggered side of it on the second one. But the first one, as Daniel was talking about, the heavy hand. So let me just talk about the triggered aspect first. Let's say when I was growing up, the parents or the teachers would use the heavy hand, literally. Okay, because
Mm,
and they did it because that they also represented the societal expectation of that time. And I think that whilst we can feel a bit guilty of having adultified or adulterated some of the psychology that exists among the youth now, we might have done it without knowing either. Also,
mm,
it's like when I sit with my parents, I feel like, oh, do I blame them or do I accept that that is in the past and now I
mm,
work towards I am responsible for what's happening. I can respond to what's happening in my life now. So knowledge is still power. No
mm,
matter where we are at that point of life, we go, okay, that is in the past. I know there are associated traumas around it, and I'm talking about these passed on traumas from the societal from the society's expectations. Also, not just I'm not just talking about a family. I'm talking about whole
mm.
as a society. That if we just keep doing what we are doing uh, with the right attitude, then that's the best we can do because we don't know 20 years from now we'll be sitting here thinking, my goodness, that podcast was so wrong, I shouldn't have said it. I feel so guilty.
Uh-huh.
It was not right at all, but this is the best we could do today. And
Well, we say if you know better, you do better. So
yeah,
it's
Yeah.
okay because we will keep evolving our practice
yeah,
as we learn.
because I don't
Yeah.
want anyone to observe. I'm really glad nobody observed me 18 years ago when I was talking to a child. Like, I just didn't know what to say to this child, and I'm sure I said all the wrong things. And then the second thing, which you had previously mentioned about the energy, the attitude, that when we approach a child or a young person or even a human, and this is,
Mm,
and I'm talking about energy, and again, this is not something that you can see, but I'm sure the listeners have felt it. When you walk with awareness, you walk different.
mm,
Like the person who walks with awareness is not faking confidence. They are aware. They are walking. They breathe differently. They talk differently. They walk differently. They approach differently. The attitude is different. And somehow, the other person reads that energy and it talks to you more.
Mm.
And you
uh-huh.
feel like, and the observer might say, oh, well, he never talks to me. I don't know why he's talking to you. And I would say, I don't know either. I just walked to him and say, hey, how you doing? And we started talking. And Helen has said
Yeah.
the same thing to me, that she would just talk to some children and young people for a long time and they would start opening up things. So I feel like we're going back to that point A, education is power. When I mean by education, I mean being awareness. Let's keep put all these things in because we don't
Mm,
know what day we will start moving different. We will
Mm.
start
yeah.
walking different around
Yeah.
people around us. Yeah,
Mm.
And so one more story, if I may,
please.
Please, we love a
because
story.
they're, well, not necessarily a story, but a beautiful connection to the realm of working with children and nature connection. Because if you are a bird watcher,
Okay.
Mm.
and you are existing in the realm of building connection with birds, there's a whole realm of things on bird language that you can
Mhm.
do to understand the ways that birds communicate, not only with us, with each other, but also all the other animals in their
Wow.
environment.
Okay.
We, as humans, if we're walking through a space where there are lots of birds, can drastically impact the way that those birds react to us.
Mm.
If we are head down, uh, not present, not focused, we will actually cause bird alarm calls. So in Western Australia, the indigenous name, the Noongar name for a willy wagtail is a jitty jitty. And
Oh,
Okay.
that
they're my favorite. I
name,
love them.
yep, that name comes from the fact that their alarm call is a jitty, 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 jitty,
Yeah.
that sound. If you're so I'm looking out our office window at the moment, and just down the road there's a pathway into a park, and next to the gate that I have to go through to get to that park, a jitty jitty has its nest. And for the
Mm.
last 3 years, I've been walking past that gate. And the days that I'm walking past that gate and I'm not focused, my head's elsewhere, I've got lots of things on my mind, that jitty jitty alarm calls at me. The
Mm.
days that I walk through and I am calm and I'm aware and I'm
Yeah.
conscious, and even to the point now I'm like, hey, jitty jitty, I'm walking through, it's just me.
Yeah.
I'm Daniel, you're okay. It won't alarm call.
Yeah.
Right.
But our awareness with the natural world changes the way that the natural world shows up. And it's the same with children, with adults, with all people. They can get a sense of how we're turning up.
Yeah.
And if I'm closed off, if my awareness is so locked down, if I have too many things crowding my mind, I'm not aware and present. So as an educator, we do need to be totally aware of what we come with.
So it's not an easy job, educators. That's what we are saying.
It is.
And I think we had this conversation, Saurabh, you just alluded to it before, but we've had quite a few conversations, I think, of quite a while ago. One time I was really frustrated with my team, and I said to Saurabh one day, I just don't understand how my team don't get, how this works, because the example I had was that the team member will go out, kind of say to the kids, hey, do you want to do blah, blah, in not a very excited voice. And they come back to me and say, nobody wanted to do the activity today. And then I'll go bounding out to the field and be like, right, guys, what are we doing? Blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly I've got, I'm the Pied Piper with a whole lot of people. But just my frustration. And then Saurabh said, what you're forgetting is, like, people need to learn this. It's not natural. I mean, for some people it is. I think there is some people that are really good at it. They understand kind of the energies you bring to situations. But for a lot of people, and I think for our listeners, if you're listening going, this is confusing, this is totally new to me, that's okay, because you can learn how to do this. It doesn't always come natural.
Yeah, and actually, Helen, and when Daniel was talking about this chitty example, and those listeners who might feel disconnected, like, oh, I've never experienced this. Well, we have with our dogs. We don't even have to go that far. The way you are acting that particular day, the dog will act differently. If I'm on a phone, and I never know that this is happening because I'm on the phone and I get passionate. Sometimes I'm just using euphemism passionate when I actually mean anger, but okay. So when I'm angry on the phone and I'm talking, and I'm like, and my voice will go up. Now, but I don't know how much my voice has gone up, because my voice is going up right now and my dog is sleeping. So it's fine. Yeah. And therefore the podcast is allowed to be recorded today. But let's say there are days I'm on the phone, I'm like, and I go rapid with my voice. I go, yeah. Next thing you know, Saurubh, my black one, he will jump on me. He will start hitting my face till I calm down. And I have to then, in a squeaky voice, like a squealy voice, as you did earlier, hi, this is me, Daniel. I have to say to him, it's okay, Daddy's fine. Hey, you know what? Let's get some treats today. Unless I say that, he will keep staring at me from a distance. He'll come, he'll tap me on my forehead. He will just keep checking, like, hey, are you out of that cycle yet? Because if you're not out of the cycle, I can't relax. Until I make that sound to go, hey, you know what? I was thinking of going out. That's when he calms down. So my voice is going up right now as I speak, but he doesn't care. But I'm sure if I've grabbed my phone and start doing something else on purpose, and my mom thinks it's a joke. So when she comes here, she asks me to do, like, hey, say this on the phone. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to stress my own dog. but she likes to do that. So there is there's a science, there's an understanding. We all have experienced that. Maybe we might not be able to communicate. And therefore, in your point, Helen, when you said that sometimes it comes natural to some people, I still feel that even though it comes natural to some people, consciousness and bringing awareness to it is so crucial, because we want to be able to communicate what comes natural to us. But otherwise, we would never be able to pass down the things which come natural to us. It's important to say what worked today, what doesn't work, and then talk to as many people as you can. Talk about that, because people would really get benefit from knowing this information. Yeah, so it's all energy, isn't it?
I think, Daniel, I mean, I'm hoping I'm remembering this right, because it was, about 2 years ago now. When I heard you speak, you were also talking about the importance of your own awareness as you kind of come into the session, and, being able to, I suppose, say, hey, Daniel, I'm not feeling great today, and then you'll know, you put them on. I can't remember the east-west or whatever it was right now, but you'll put them on to that different task. It doesn't require that full energy.
Yeah. So in the Nature Connection movement, there's a practice or a routine called wiping the road dust. And if you think about, if you come from a time where you're traveling maybe by horse from town to town, you would arrive and you would be covered in dust. And when you arrive in that place, you literally wipe off.
Mm.
For those people listening on Spotify, you are wiping your arm off of the dust. So that process, how do we arrive at a space and physically wipe off? And I ended up yelling at the kids this morning because they wouldn't tie their shoelaces fast enough. Or they've left their dishes on the sink with Wheat Bix caked to the side again.
Yeah.
Or I got every red light on my way to work.
Yeah.
All of those negative experiences that happen, and they can be small, but we arrive with those things. Maybe I didn't get enough sleep. Maybe the dog woke me up at 2 a.m. But we need to be conscious of those things that we arrive with and acknowledge them, and then be okay to set them aside, but sometimes be acknowledging them in a way that this is going to impact my day, and how has my team got me, and how can I sit in the energy or the space or the role that fits with where I am today.
Yeah, and therefore it is very important for the educators to know that we are a team, and importantly, we are not independent. We are so dependent on each other. So maybe this, I don't know how you might want to interpret it, but at my workplace in the past, and even now today with people who are very close to me, I say to them that you have the permission to tell me, be responsible for your face. Okay, so if your face is going on left and I'm like, hey, Saurabh, be responsible for your face. Like, oh, damn. Okay, let me wipe off that sadness that I've been carrying, but also not feel guilty again. Like, because, people can feel really hard or harsh on themselves to say, look, I'm unable to regulate my emotions at all times. And then I realize that once I've actually destroyed some connections, we all have done that. And one of the strategies that I have, and I'm not sure, Daniel, if you have, other than, because I don't work in a team, I work with teams. So sometimes I have to remind myself, I have to be my own checker. So I have like, on my phone, there's a reminder, and there's a concept that I learned from a book called Calming the Emotional Storm. And the concept was around the wise self, as in it just reminds you, are you being emotional or too rational right now? Is your pendulum going too emotional or too rational? Are you in the center? So it's just something stayed with me. So it just reminds me every 3-4 hours, and it's at random times, just to go, what are you taking to you? Because I'm walking into services with so many stories impacting me every day. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, I love that. And that reminds me of the saying, and I've forgotten who actually said it, but we need to meet children. So when children are dysregulated, we need to meet them with our calm rather than joining their chaos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
and I think that ties up
overstimulated does not work.
Yeah, and ties really well to the empathy that we talked about. This is where we are meeting. That's the level they are at, and we are not meeting just physically, but also this emotional level. Not to bring your own chaos to it, but to say, okay, what do I bring to it? What attitude do I bring to it? Conscious of time, as Helen had said, but I wrote a lot of things down, Helen. Yeah, I wrote about nature pedagogy. We talked about REST, rest. I need to Google that. What does that mean, and how do we do it? We also talked about empathy, but overall, we've talked about how unseen things can impact us. The energy, the what you bring, and the awareness of. I'm just adding another word: willingness to become aware, because there could be a lot of walls that we have up, and this may not allow us to be fully immersed in that experience. Helen, how's your experience going on so far?
There's a lot going on in my head, a lot of cycling through thoughts, and I think one big takeaway, and I think I've said it a few times within our podcast, and I want to say it again to our listeners, is that when we talk, this isn't about shame, and it's not about making people feel bad, because also, we talk a lot about awareness, and, even in Daniel's example just then about an escalated person cannot, calm down an escalated child. It doesn't matter if that happened the first time. What matters is the realizing of, oh, I just realized in that instance today when I went in, that child was escalated and I was escalated, didn't work well, let's try something different. And same with that whole, as we become more aware, I suppose, as we think about this, for some people, new concepts of the energy we're coming in with, then you can do more with it. So like, I never want anyone to listen to us and feel like we're judging them or we're shaming them for, not being the perfect educator, because, we all have bad days. We all do and say silly things. But also I'm really, I suppose, we know my weird sense of humor, some funny ha-ha side notes. Saurubh, I really want us to go on a We Belong podcast road trip and go and spend a day at Kin Village, because Daniel, I messaged you about this the other day, but I visited a service with Saurubh and they're playing the peg game. And he was completely bamboozled by it. He did not get it. And I said to him, this is a really funny game. And I know Daniel loves to play this at his service as well. So I'm really keen to get out there to Kin Village with Saurubh and just spend a day in nature.
Yeah.
Come and play.
Whenever we are invited, Helen, no pressure, Daniel, we will go. No, it's a really, I have a really good friend in Perth. That's why I stayed for the last 3-4 days. I was there. Beautiful place. Perth is a place where I would love to come multiple times. I haven't yet worked in Perth for any services, but I would just come for leisure if that needs to be done, and for podcasts, of course, Helen, as you said.
Well, he's also open to come for some PDs as well.
I mean, while I'm there, we can talk to any school.
Before we wind up, Daniel, if people want to learn about this stuff, if they're interested in, hey, this guy, I've just found out about Daniel, he's quite interesting. What can I learn from him? Do you want to tell us a bit about, like, we know you do some PDs and you speak at conferences. What can people engage you to do with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website, www.educatedbynature.com, has all of our services, but also we've got a whole heap of blogs and video blogs on there. So I've been fortunate, and our team has been fortunate, to travel to some amazing places in this world and meet some incredible human beings doing amazing work. And we try to interview them and share some of that experience. So check out some of our Campfire conversation blogs and video blogs. But if you want a more in-person, more personalized option, we are happy to come and do workshops. We run 2-hour or whole day workshops that we can come in situ and do, or you can come and join us here at our headquarters in Balcatta. They can have us come out and help them with setting up experiences in their service or their school. We'd love to help as many people as we can find ways to connect with the natural world.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just nominating Saurubh. Write down your paper now. We Belong podcast PD at Kin Village.
Love it.
It's recorded. So we'll take our mics with us.
Can you say yes now while we're recording? So we've got.
Okay. Yes. We'll just do it. Helen,
that's confirmed.
Talking about this, just adding this up here, Helen is getting all these ideas but Helen, one of the ideas that we are doing is that we are going to Sweden this year, and we're going to record a few things in Sweden for Denmark.
Wow.
We're gonna so Sweden, Denmark. Chances are that we might even visit some places, but we are definitely gonna have some talks like this in the evenings of our conference. So those who are interested, please, to follow us, because we're gonna be talking about what we're learning, what we're not learning, and how the vegetarian food in Stockholm is. So we're going to find, so did I say that loud? Okay. We're going to find that out. But once we do that, we would love to do Perth also. Why not?
And we haven't told our listeners yet. Yes, you've just let the cat out of the bag, everyone. We are off to Sweden together.
And we're going to be doing a lot of work there while we're on the road. Yes.
But also, I want to say for our listeners that Daniel is very well traveled, because last time we were together in Melbourne, you literally flew from Canada to Melbourne. So we attended the same PD session with Play Australia, but literally flew from Canada to Melbourne. So tell us what blogs did you get from Canada, just because we're interested.
So I presented at the Take Me Outside, the Outdoor Learning Conference in Banff, and an amazing, incredibly practical, really hands-on conference in the middle of the Rockies. Just a beautiful experience. So met some wonderful people. Megan Zenny is doing some incredible work in regards to research of things like nature pedagogy, literacy in the outdoors, and the balance between educator-led versus child-led play opportunities in the
Beautiful.
outdoors.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we would love to keep talking to Daniel,
So
but
would
Daniel may not like that, so we will let him go. Well, thank you very much, Daniel, for giving this time. It's in the world that we live in. Time is of a huge essence and importance, and you've given that. Not only
Yes.
that, you've given us
Thank you.
the you've shared open-heartedly about so much of knowledge that you have. Those who are listening, please follow Educated by Nature. We will be putting that up when we release this podcast, because there are videos there which are going to be really helpful. And please get Daniel or his team to your service, or engage them as you deem fit for your organization. Thank you also, Helen, for always organizing and doing the hard yards. This podcast, once it is done, just letting you know, once this is done, then Helen listens to it, then she edits it, then it goes to my team, they edit it, and then we listen to it again, and then it comes. So it's like a 4 to 5 hour thing that becomes 45, 50 minutes for in front of people. So, and Helen has a full-time job with 4 kids, 1 husband, and dogs also. So
Oh,
it's,
thanks.
it's not easy for her, but we still do it. So
But this is why I
thank,
love this podcast, because I get
Yeah.
to speak to great people. So, you know.
thank you, Helen. I mean, Daniel. Okay. So,
It's been wonderful to speak to you both.
thank you, Daniel, for coming in. You have a lovely day, Daniel, in Perth. Beautiful Perth. Thank you, Helen from Sydney.
Thank
And
you.
from the state of origin, Winner State, Queensland. I
Oh.
sign off. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everyone. Thank you very much. Look after yourself and the people you love. From the team at We Belong Education podcast. Goodbye.
See you later.
Bye.